Biztech Technology Show. Today we feature Kenneth Darmansjah, co-founder and CEO of Soul Parking. Now, Soul Parking is a leading Indonesian startup specializing in motorcycle parking solutions. Now, with a mission to improve urban mobility via cutting-edge digital technology, sustainable offline infrastructure, and a customer-centric approach, Soul Parking is at the forefront of redefining urban transportation in Indonesia. Now, to tell us more about this, Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
Now, Kenneth, for a start, could you give us an overview of Soul Parking and its history, and really what inspired you to start this?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. So basically, it all began from observing parking issue in Indonesia, where predominantly we were faced with the increased number of motorcycle as well as cars population in the country grew about 5 to 6% per year, which for motorcycle is actually about half of the population, right? So these motorcycle industry is actually evolving into one of the leading contributors to carbon emission, illegal parking, as well as traffic jam. And as a result of this, we do see an opportunity to basically digitalize conventional parking by providing a solution, what we call a compact motorcycle storage, where it's basically an elevated parking structure for two-wheelers. So this is the first ever hydraulic powered parking system in the world that focuses on the two-wheeled vehicle. And more importantly, we do see opportunity to actually tackle into other vehicle types such as cars, and hence we also have operating system, which is a cloud-based software that digitizes existing parking building through our data transparency for all types of vehicle. And I think the inspiration behind Soul Parking is to tackle into the urban mobility angle, where we do see for parking, we have to tackle into the end-to-end solution from software all the way to the hardware.
Okay, Kenneth, I want to put the audience and get their heads around what you do. So let me throw out some key facts. You basically, in a space that is only 60 square meters. So to put that in its perspective, that's 600 plus square feet. That is about the size of a big studio apartment. You can cram in 240 motorcycles and park them and stack them up. Tell us about this and how this is actually done from an operational standpoint and how you make money from this.
Sure, that's a great question, Brian. So actually our CMS is actually 100% made from Indonesia. We're using a steel structure knockdown system, and basically it's basically well protected, and we also insured the vehicle as well for the end customer. The customer journey is actually very simple. Customer can just come in. They have two options. They can either use our mobile app to scan the barcode for our seamless parking journey. And we practically use semi-valet procedure, where we have our own parking staff that will put the motorcycle in the respective racks. And then customer can just leave. And second option, they can also use the ticket, right, for initial awareness. And on the way out, they can press early checkout, and basically they can pay first using all the available payment methods. And once they get to the location, they can take the motorcycle straight away. And essentially, this saves a lot of time, because for conventional parking, if you're parked in a tent layer type of structure, it kind of makes it hard for you to get out, right? And essentially, the way we make money is from the parking fee generated from the end customer. We typically charge a daily rate as well as a monthly subscription for the end customer.
Okay, so that is end customer. That's the B2C business. But you also have a B2B business and a B2G business, where you partner with landowners, with building owners, and so forth. Tell us about this.
Sure. So for the B2B, we're trying to tackle into the building owners and building management's problems, right? So we do see most of the parking buildings is technically still manual. It's still using cash-based as the payment method. And there's a lack of digitalization, and it's still requiring a lot of manual operation. So that's where we came in. We came to them, and basically we provide our operating system, and we provide a combination of cloud-based software to the end landowner that essentially helps them in terms of tracking the operating data analyzing your occupancy rate, and as well as reconciliation of your financials, right? So it helps them a lot of time actually to basically get the reconciliation. And on the flip side as well, for the B2G, basically we typically come to the government and basically they see the need to essentially increase the capacity. We can offer them CMS to essentially increase the revenue and net income. Or in either cases where the land is typically big, we can also offer the operating system with the aforementioned transparency as the main key issues to tackle.
Okay, so you're essentially, as you said, you are transforming a very generally labor-intensive manual industry, and you're really bringing it to the 21st century in terms of digitization. That's one advantage. And of course, the other advantage is literally you are maximizing the footprint and the revenue out of whether it's solving a problem of more parking or trying to make more revenue out of per square foot.
Correct. Yes, I think that's on point.
So then the other thing that also you mentioned, which is an Indonesian problem, not just an Indonesian, but global problem, is really the fact that these motorcycles are big polluters. A lot of them are two-stroke engines. They are huge. They have a huge impact on pollution. Your government in Indonesia is targeting really a migration away from traditional motorcycles to electric ones. They're targeting 50,000 in 2023 and I think 150,000 by 2024. How are you taking advantage of these key trends and shifts that your government is encouraging, not only your government, but governments across the region?
Yes. So we aim to establish ourselves as the infrastructure to support both motorcycle and cars, aligning with the government's plan for Indonesia to achieve net zero emission by 2030. And basically, we're trying to provide an infrastructure that is positive for the EV adoption to play out in the future. So right now, we're actually developing our own EV charging for two-wheelers, where essentially customer can come in, park, and they can also put the battery next to our parking premises. And basically, you can use mobile app to book and as well as to pay for charging and parking seamlessly, right, within that. And more importantly, we also support for park and ride innovation that will be developed in near term for the government of Indonesia. Basically, is to induce customer to park near the MRT or train station, and essentially they can commute using MRT, right, to the respective workplace. So our target in the near term is to place most of our parking system next to those TOD station, so we can basically help them in terms of reducing pollution as well as illegal parking and traffic jam in Indonesia.
Now, EVs and this whole electric infrastructure is really the huge opportunity. Soul parking to date has remarkably grown about 100 times in 3 years. What have been the key success factors for your rapid expansion?
Yes, so I don't think we're not there yet. So we're just getting started in terms of reaching our next milestone. But I mean, for us, the good thing is that we're starting from a low base from the pandemic, and basically for us, our product typically needs more time for branding, right? So during COVID, which is a blessing in disguise for us as well, we actually go into several different types of customer and we presented about our solution. And most of them actually, after getting to know them after a few months, they would come to us and they would actually want to try our solution, right? And I think since day one, we've always been focused in terms of focus on our customer, whether it's a capacity issue or whether it's a manual operation issue, and we tend to scale using that type of strategy.
Okay, now looking ahead, you've grown 100 times in 3 years. There's a lot more to grow. What's the strategy moving forward, not only in Indonesia, but out of Indonesia?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for Indonesia, there's still plenty of other key cities that we look into. So I can name.
Kenneth, where are you at now? So for the benefit of the audience, what's your footprint like in Indonesia today?
Sure, yeah. So over the past 3 years, we've actually scaled across 45 parking locations across Indonesia. So mostly have presence in Jabodetabek, Bandung, Yogyakarta, Semarang, Samarinda, and Bali. And see, like Bali is actually one of the top, or if not the second top performing cities from our company, right? So we do see a huge potential in a city like Bali, and there's actually a lot of other portfolio that we can look into, like maybe recreational area, theme park, as well as other like apartments or even like cluster houses as well. And going outside of Indonesia, that will of course be one of the end goal at some point. But we do see similar traits like Vietnam or even like Thailand, like Indonesia, right? So they have maybe like 60 million and 20 million motorcycle population, more or less, and with even higher ratio of motorcycle to population than Indonesia. So for us, those two countries are typically top of mind for us in the next few years to come.
Now, Kenneth, you were a venture capitalist before becoming an entrepreneur. Walk us through what your journey has been like and some of the challenges that you encountered while building Soul Parking.
Sure, yeah, that's a very tough question. But yeah, on the venture capital side, it has been a fruitful journey because during my time there, I actually quite learned a lot in terms of understanding businesses across sectors. So not just focus on parking, but since day one, when I actually was the one of the founding team member of Agaiti, we actually really like into tech enabled and ESG and clean impact related business. So I'm actually a big believer of building sustainable businesses. So it's not just about matter of providing technology to your company, right? But at some point, your business has to make money down the road. So by enabling those two angle, the tech-enabled businesses, I think, will be the next game-changing solution. And I think looking into the soul parking perspective, from the venture capital side, I mean, it's always looking companies more in the helicopter or general perspective type of thing. But when you're actually on the inside, increasing your margin is not that easy, right? So you can kind of have to, dig further and look closely on how you can increasing your margin for the long term. So, I mean, for me personally, people in startup has always been one of the key concerns because managing existing people, building your culture as well as hiring the right talent for the company will be top two concerns. If you were to build a startup, right? Whereas in a venture capital space, it's mostly already established, and you're just looking at companies and investing and hopefully and praying that your investment will turn out to be okay. But on the flip side, in a startup, you're dealing with a whole different type of ball game, right? Which is people, and I would say.
Now, Kenneth, one of the key things, so you've worn two hats before. You wear the entrepreneur hat, you've worn the investor hat. Now, globally, there is a funding winter, and there is a real push for startups to really who have been funded before to achieve profitability. Where are you at in that journey?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's not really shocking. We always saw that this, funding winter will come in the future. So it's not really surprising. For us, since day one, we're not the typical platform type of businesses that can maybe scale 20 or 30x on year growth. But for us, a decent, 3, 5, or 7x year on year is already decent enough while managing positive unit economics and healthy margin, right? And in fact, just to point out the data, a few years ago when we actually did outright sale, where we sold a few modules to government or even like businesses for our CMS, in a few months that we've done that, we're actually already profitable on group level, right? So for us, profitability right now is not really an issue. For us, it's just how to scale this business into a multiple presence with multiple location. And once we can basically turn on the volume or flip the page, we can basically focus more on the profitability angle.
Now, Kenneth, it sounds like an exciting business, a business that is really solving problems, not only in your home market, but as we spoke about offline, really around solving problems in the ASEAN region in terms of really high intensity and high index parking. I wish you all the best in your journey with Soul Parking moving forward. Thanks for coming on the show, Kenneth.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. It's been an honor.
Now, we've been speaking to Kenneth Darmansjah. He's the co-founder and CEO of Soul Parking from Indonesia. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech Technology Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.